I finally felt like I had the solution. But what happened, my business started to really explode as I really started sharing my 100-pound weight loss journey. I wanted to share the story, everything. And as I started sharing that, my business started to grow. And as my business started to grow, I realized I was doing everything the wrong way.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our 2013 Top Elite Partner of the Year, Tasha Pearson.
Before we get started, for the lawyers, everything that I am sharing in this video is based on my own personal experiences, thoughts, and feelings. These are my interpretations of events as I have lived through them. My intention is to share my story honestly and respectfully without naming names or placing blame. This is simply my journey, and I hope it helps others who may relate in some way. I started coaching when Gretchen was just about a year old, and then a couple months later, I got pregnant with Ralph, and I had Ralph in 2016. So 2015 and 2016, our big annual summit, which is pretty much like a big corporate event that everyone goes to. I couldn't go to it and I really wanted to. I literally had FOMO, but I mean, now I know that the events are designed to give people FOMO. I mean, it's marketing. And that's where it's like, yeah, you can knock network marketing all you want, but so many businesses do things like this as part of their marketing. Okay, so in BODi, there were different accolades that you could earn. So there's Premier, and then there's Elite, and then there's Elite Top 10. And so by this time, I think it was this year, I hit Premier, which is like that first level. And I was so proud of myself for that. And a lot of it was because I had points from the sales that I was making. So how the whole program works is there's different categories. So for example, you can earn points for your personal sales. You can earn points for your team, the volume that they produce, for the new people that you are bringing on. So there's a lot of like team building categories and one category for your sales. And so I was able to hit Premier because I got enough points. So my very first summit, I was a diamond coach and I was so proud of myself. I got to like check into this separate line, but being there with like tens of thousands of people, and it's a big production. They spend so much money on Summit, so much money. Like it was a huge event. It was nuts. I mean, if you go to the years that I was speaking on stage at Summit, like if you saw backstage, it was the first time I saw it, it's like, oh, you have like a staff of 40 people back here. But like also at Summit, you get to see these other top coaches who have built these big businesses, who have these giant teams, who, I mean, carrying around Louis Vuitton bags, getting their makeup done, getting recognized on stage in these big ball gowns. Like that was the culture. And I wanted to do that. I mean, I know there are some girls that don't want that, but it's like, when am I ever going to have a chance to wear a big prom dress again? I think I also wanted to prove to myself that like I can do hard things. Like I can be the best of the best. I mean, that is literally my personality. And so leaving Summit, I was like, I want to be elite this year. Like I want to get to elite. I knew that I had to do the team building stuff. I started actually paying attention to how these things worked. Whereas before I was just signing people up, making sales, running my group. When I think about my first Summit experience to my last Summit experience, like they're vastly different. My first one, I don't want to say I drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid. But more than anything, I think it was because it was the first time in a really long time that I felt a part of something. Like, you know, you're in school and then you're in college and you're like a part of a community. And, you know, when you become a mom and you're staying home with your kids, and if you don't have those close friends still around you, you lose your community.
It feels very isolating.
Yes, it feels very isolating. And so I went to Summit and I was like, it felt cool to be a part of something. And it felt cool to be surrounded by people that also valued health and fitness, and that I didn't feel weird for eating healthy in front of them or wanting to exercise. Like I liked being a part of that. Leaving Summit, I felt very inspired to grow my business even more and start doing some of the team building things. Not that I wasn't doing it before. I was trying. I wasn't very successful at it, but I decided I needed to put more emphasis and time into that aspect of my business, because if I wanted to be successful, I couldn't just do the sales. I had to do both. A couple months after I signed up to become a coach, people started posting on Instagram. That's how long ago it was. And so I started posting on Instagram. So this is how it was back in the day. day. I mean, the way that social media changed also changed the way that people did their business, and it just became unrealistic to keep up with. So in the beginning, I was posting 3 times a day on Facebook. I literally scheduled a week's worth of posts on one day. And so the work that I did was I went into my groups for 15 to 30 minutes a day, checked in with people, posted my own stuff. It was really easy to do in the cracks of my day. As social media changed, though, everything else changed. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the way that social media changed allowed me to grow my business in a different way and reach more people. And so coming home from that summit, I started to work more on growing my following. I started to research social media. I started to research how to grow. I spent hours and hours and hours teaching myself all of these things, how to create content. And this was before video. So it was just posting images on Instagram, like very curated, influencer-y images. That's what Instagram was. I think not long after that, stories came out, which was very uncomfortable for a lot of people, because a lot of people signed up like, yeah, I can post on Facebook. I can go post pictures, that now I have to talk on video. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I mean, it's, for me, I feel like it's really natural. But I know like for a lot of people, it's not natural. I mean, no offense, Dave. I love my husband so much, and he's like so normal in real life. But the second you put a camera on him, he's like, I don't know what to say. And I make fun of him for it all the time. I'm like, you just act normal. Like, I don't know. I get it. Like, I get it's not natural for a lot of people. And so that change was really hard for a lot of people, because you had to keep up with social media. It's not just posting on Facebook now. It's posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, and showing up on your stories every single day. But what was really cool was, because I was putting so much emphasis into growing my social media and I was still getting results, I was losing the baby weight after Ralph, and I was sharing my journey. The last time I actually invited someone to be in my group, 2016, maybe even before that. Yeah. And the thing is, I strategically put so much focus into learning how to grow social media because I didn't want to invite people. Cold outreach didn't work. It didn't feel good. I hated doing it, especially for like a weight loss product. It was never my intention to have someone interpret like, oh, you think I need to lose weight? It's like, no. And I think the reason why is because throughout my weight loss journey, I've learned that it's like, yeah, this much about how you look, you change so much more on the inside. Like, for the first time in my life, I had confidence, I had energy. Like, I never knew what it felt like to feel healthy until I had lost weight. And I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that. I never wanted anyone to think that that was my intention. And so I did not want to cold message people ever. And that's why I grew my social media. And I'm glad that I put so much effort into that, and I learned so much, because it allowed me to build such a big business as far as my customer base goes. So I got to be in the test group for this program, Lift 4, which I still love that program. It is such a good program. Like, I still do it. The way that they select people to do test groups for these new programs that are coming out, it became a competition later. But in the very beginning, it was like there was a group of corporate people who hand selected people and invited them to be in these test groups. Like, it was such an honor. There was very few people. You could not apply. You could not earn it. It was something that you got chosen for. I'm sure they picked people based off of like, what kind of results do they need to get? I mean, what kind of health and fitness company wouldn't do that? And so it was after I had Ralph, I got asked to be in the Lift 4 test group, and I was so excited. I got amazing results. I decided that like, this is such an honor. I am going to 100% commit. I am going to do the program exactly as it was intended. I followed a meal plan. I did not eat anything off track. I did every single workout, and I started to get really good results. It's so funny, because thinking back now, I view this experience completely different. But when I was in it, I felt so much shame. So I had Ralph, and my second pregnancy was so much easier than my first. And so I lost the baby weight with Ralph. I think I got to like within 10 pounds of my pre-pregnancy weight. And I remember like going to Summit, and I hit Premier that year, and it was so fun, so exciting. And I wanted to keep diving more into my business, because again, I was seeing how my results were helping me attract more people. And because of that, I was helping more people lose weight. And I had such a transformation with that in my life. It changed everything for me. And so that was always the most rewarding part. But then, I mean, my weight started to fluctuate, and I started to gain weight. And I felt so embarrassed, because I had just lost the baby weight. And I don't remember, something had happened. I had hurt my back. I couldn't work out for months, and like my eating wasn't great, and I started gaining weight, and I was almost back to my like 41 week pregnant weight. And I'm like, I just shared these weight loss results and I gained the weight again. And I remember I got selected for the Lift 4 test group. But I also think that that was the time when I really started to question things. Like, when I started with BODi, it was just workouts. So my very first BODi program was Insanity. There was like a little booklet that you got that was like calorie counting and whatever. I didn't do do that. I just did the workouts and I literally went on YouTube and I was like, what do healthy people eat? That's literally what I was doing. And I was like, I didn't know anything. So I was literally like, okay, plain chicken, eggs. I had oatmeal, like salads. Like I didn't really know. And so when I actually started as a coach in 2015, that was when the 21 Day Fix came out. And I was like, so cool. There's now a meal plan that I can follow. It's easy to follow. It tells me exactly what to eat. I can check the boxes. That's what I thought I needed. I was like, I don't trust myself. I need someone to tell me exactly what to do because I've always been that way. If you tell me exactly what to do, I can check the boxes. I think around the time after I had Ralph, I had lost the baby weight and then I had gained weight and then I was losing it again in the Lift 4 test group. I started to question like this worked for me, but it's not a long-term solution because I had been yo-yoing. I was like, this was the thing that I wanted to avoid. Then I got pregnant with Claire. This was still pre-COVID. COVID happened in the middle of my pregnancy with her. So I got pregnant with Claire and I was gaining weight faster than ever. And I remember being 20 weeks pregnant and I stepped on the scale and I was 201 pounds and I had never been over 200 pounds in my life. All I thought was, I still have 20 weeks left in my pregnancy. I'm going to gain more weight. I was devastated. And I was like, why is this happening? 2019, I had hit elite with BODi. I was doing really well. I had a very small team, although they were quitting and I was replacing people as fast as they were quitting. It was not sustainable at all. But I had a really big customer base that I had built up for years now. And we got to a point where Dave was able to quit his job as a cop. And at the same time, we decided to move to Arizona. So we moved to Arizona. I remember we closed on our house on March 12th because that's my birthday. That's why I remember it. That was the day that everything shut down. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, because Dave was still a cop in Washington. He wasn't going to be able to quit until the end of June, like around my due date. So what we had originally planned on is I would live in Arizona, Dave would live in Washington. I would have Gretchen and Ralph and Boot, our dog, and I would take care of them. But it was fine because they would be in school and I could do my own thing during the day. But then COVID happened and it was like, actually, just kidding. You have to homeschool your kids. That was the hardest pregnancy for me. And I think it was because I had gained so much weight. That day I stepped on the scale was one of the first days we moved into this house. And Dave was gone. It was me and Gretchen and Ralph. The world was shut down. We knew no one here. We couldn't meet anyone. We couldn't even buy toilet paper. Yes, there was a toilet paper shortage, but keep in mind, we moved from Washington State to Arizona. Like, why would we bring toilet paper with us? Like, that's stupid. And I'm like, we'll just get all that stuff here. Everything shut down the day we moved in. And then there was no toilet paper. We got our toilet paper from the model home for a month. And so it was rough. Like I was pregnant. I was home with my kids. My husband was in Washington as a police officer. The world was going crazy. It was so much stress, so much anxiety. Literally every single day by like 3 o'clock, I'm like, I have no energy left. I would get my kids in the car and we would go to Chick-fil-A every single day except Sunday because I didn't want to do dishes. I didn't have the energy. My body hurt so bad. My joints were aching. It was survival mode. And then obviously I kept gaining even more weight because we were going to Chick-fil-A every day. Gosh, I'm not proud of this. So when we found out that I was pregnant with Alan and we told the kids, literally the first thing Gretchen said, I was like, Gretchen, we're having a baby. And she's like, oh, does that mean we get to go to Chick-fil-A every day? And I was just like, I wanted to laugh, but at the same time, it felt like a knife to the heart. Like that was what I was teaching my daughter that like, oh, when life's hard, just go get fast food every day. Like that's not healthy. But that was also one of those things where it's like, I need to change my behavior because my kids are watching me more than I realized. So going back to the yo-yoing after I had Ralph, I felt really conflicted on the inside because I was like, I have been selling this for years now. I mean, I started in 2015. It had almost been 5 years. And I'm like, this is a solution that worked for me. But I realized through my experience, yeah, it worked because it helped me lose the weight, but it was not a long-term solution. Like I kept gaining the weight and I had to be on the diet to lose the weight. And don't get me wrong, like I feel like there is a time and place for those things. If you are training for a competition, like you need to follow a rigid meal plan, but it's not meant to be forever. And I was teaching people how to create a healthy lifestyle that could last forever. I mean, that's what I wanted. I realized that this thing that I had, I was in this diet mindset. I constantly felt like I was cheating. I mean, I think I realized like it's not sustainable because here's the thing. The first time I lost weight, I was doing Insanity and there was no meal plan at that time with BODi. It was like you get a book and it talked about calorie counting, but that was also a point where when I lost the weight, I isolated myself from my social life because I didn't trust myself around food. I literally turned down like every party I got invited to, every event. Like I didn't go because I didn't think I would be able to continue getting results. I thought I would be so tempted by the food that like it was just better for me not to show up. And then I realized after that experience, like that's not a good way to lose weight either. Like you need to figure out how to still live your life. And then I thought, yeah, the containers are really helpful. They give you guidance. You can check the boxes, you get the results, but it didn't teach any lasting skills. And I wasn't going to take them to a restaurant. And it got to a point where I felt like I was cheating if I had 2 salads in a day, because you got one orange container, which is your seeds and dressings, I believe. I know it was dressings for sure. It's like, okay, that was 2 tablespoons of a dressing. So if I have 2 salads a day and I have 4 tablespoons of a dressing, I've cheated. And like game over. And that was my mindset. I mean, now obviously I know that's not the end of the world, but when you are in that frame of mind of I have to do this to get this result, if one of these things goes wrong, it's like, I messed up. I'm a failure. I might as well eat all the things. Like,
sounds like a load on your mental health.
Yes, it was. And it was like binge restrict. And I'm like, that's not healthy. But the thing was, I didn't know any other way. Luckily, at the time, Beachbody came out with this new nutrition program called the 2B Mindset that was more about changing your mindset around food, having flexibility. At first, I was like, I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. I didn't know how it could work. But when I got pregnant with Claire and I ended up at 236 pounds, and I saw like, this means I'm yo-yoing. I'm not getting the sustained results that I want. I'm willing to do something else. I was like, I'll try it. I'll try it and see if it works. I am so glad that I found that. That was actually like the catalyst for a lot of things that I am doing now. People give me pushback and they're like, well, didn't you lose weight with the 2B mindset? Yeah, it gave me a lot of guidance in nutrition. It gave me mindsets, but it didn't teach habits. It didn't teach me how to manage my own mindset. It didn't teach me tools to learn how to navigate my own emotions and emotional eating. And that doesn't mean it didn't work, but I think so much goes into losing weight. It's not just having a plan and following it. I mean, so many people all the time, they come to me and they want meal plans. And I'm like, a meal plan isn't going to help you lose weight. If it did, there's millions of free meal plans out there online. Like what the struggle really is. And I mean, I realized this was my struggle is how do you stay on track consistently for a long time? How do you manage your mindset? How do you show up when you're not motivated? And those were all of the things that I had to figure out on my own. And that's actually what I teach now is how did I do all of those things? And so
it sounds like a great foundation that everyone needs to have.
Yes. I think for me, like doing the 2B mindset was eye-opening to me because for the first time in my life, I saw that you can attain a goal of losing weight in a much different way. It didn't have to be a diet. And that got me going down a completely other path and researching new topics, not about nutrition, not about exercise, but about habits and mindset and what you are thinking and how that dictates your results and how do you show up, especially, I mean, I had 100 pounds to lose. When you have 100 pounds to lose, like literally thinking about getting to your goal, it feels so impossible that you almost quit before you get started. And I had to learn how can I build myself up to actually believe that I can achieve this. And that all happened in my mindset. And I had to do that work on my own. So at that point, like right after I had Claire, Dave was home from work. He was in Arizona with us now. And I knew I had 100 pounds to lose and I saw a different path to get there. I finally felt like I had the solution. But what happened, my business started to really explode as I really started sharing my 100-pound weight loss journey. I wanted to share the story, everything. And as I started sharing that, my business started to grow. And as my business started to grow, I realized I was doing everything the wrong way.